Welcome to this new Tech Captains podcast. I'm Ron, and today with Gareth, we're honored to host Rui Ribeiro, the visionary co-founder and CEO of Jscrambler, a pioneer in client-side protection and compliance. Jscrambler stands out for blending advanced JavaScript obfuscation with third-party tag protection, offering a comprehensive defense against online threats and ensuring compliance with the latest standards, which I'm not naming here for ease. The solutions that you've developed, Rui, like code integrity and web page integrity, are trusted today by Fortune 500 companies, online retailers, and financial institutions globally. So I guess, Rui, let's delve into what you've done redefining web security.
And that's a really great intro. You did it better than I could have done it. So yeah,
Thank you.
I think that there's like a mantra here that we will be exploring during this interview, which is our marketing catchphrase: security starts at the screen. And what is client side security? Because we started the company in 2014, and which makes us now 10 years old, or we will make us 10 years old this year. And we have gained a lot of experience over the years. And when you're talking about security on the client side, if you look at it, it's a kind of a new thing for security, because everyone is focused with in the security space at protecting the perimeter, protecting the data center, protecting the servers. But every piece of data that ever was stored in a server at some time was typed in your browser, or you have looked at it in your browser or in your mobile app on the client side. Um, and so that's why when we started the company, we felt this is the most underexplored but most impactful market that we could make a difference. So, so that means that we would be focusing on a new market, but on a very big security problem, and that's what gives us like the energy to continue every day pushing our solutions and making sure that um, we are improving the overall data privacy of companies, data privacy stance of companies, even when they are innovating at a very rapid pace, like we have today, where you're adding AI chatbots, you are adding retargeting tools to your website, you are adding a lot of components that make the user experience and your own sales process adequate.
You do an audit, or you actually make it more secure? And what kind of real, like, I know I mentioned a few in my introduction, but it's really big titles and like catchy names that I mentioned, catchy words. But like, what does it do concretely?
What does it do? So we are there on the web page, and let's go technical. We are there on the web page. We are making sure that every
Yeah.
third party that is there, which is normally JavaScript, and but they also are called tags or pixels, that none of them are misbehaving, that
Mm-hmm.
none of them are accessing user data that they shouldn't be accessing to do their job. And by user data, it ranges from credit card information, so stopping attacks that steal credit cards, um, and, but also like simpler user privacy, like social security numbers, um, uh, whatever is considered as the private information of that website, which is slightly different if we're talking on a bank, on an e-commerce site, or on a hospital page. But the basic idea is sandbox each of these third-party providers, make sure that they only have access to the information that they need to do their work and nothing else.
I see.
And it's something that's incredibly complex to do because the browsers don't have that capability. Today, when a browser is rendering a web page, basically everyone that's there can do everything that they want. I'm oversimplifying, but it's almost um, um, like this. So this would mean that an AI, a chat application can have access to your credit card information or to your social security number, which is not the objective when they put it there. Or a video player that's being brought in by some third party will be able to access email or password information. They shouldn't, and they aren't by default, but they could, and that's what where we go there. So we not only monitor, but we are also able to enforce those behaviors.
I read about that that feature of yours to restrict the third-party libraries to only the data they need. Can we just go a little bit deeper in there? How does that actually work in practice then? How is that set up and configured?
That's the real magic of the solution. That's how we have dedicated of energy to do it. So when you are engaging with different types of websites, you can basically reduce the actions that they do to a set of very important ones that you should avoid. And you have to talk in a business language. So we start this by defining what is private data for that company. If you're talking about an airline, it's passport information, it's their users' information, but it's also things like booking code. Okay, a booking code is the gateway to cancel a trip, to have access to all the information to rebook a ticket. So for them, it's the booking code. So in each website that we have to ask the business owners, what is the private information that you want to keep private? Then we pre-configure that into the application. And while it's executing, and because our agent is being loaded with everything that's being done with every web page and for every user out there, we are enforcing that no one is accessing that information. And even if they try to reach that information, what we do is we mask that data. Okay. So because like no one wants security, that stops the website from working properly. So if you're saying like, I really need that chat application or that video player, we will enable it to be there, but we will implement policies to them saying, video player, you can play video. You cannot send information to any server other than this, and you cannot access any foreign data. So if the video player tries to do it, it gets blocked.
Okay. Yeah, I think when I read it, first of all, I thought it can't be working on the whole principle of no privilege, because that would almost be unmanageable to set it up. So you're basically saying, you tell us what is the information you want to protect, and then we ensure that that information is protected and not used where it shouldn't be used. Okay.
Yeah, because like the main effort, the main focus is we can never break the website. We can never break the user experience. It needs to be fully transparent. So it's talking like the business language and focusing on the actual data instead of all the technicality of what triggers the JavaScript, what makes this, what's this call, what is this event. Like that's too overcomplicated. So we simplify it so that we are really focused on what's essential.
Okay.
Who is there? What information are they accessing? Should I allow it? That's basically it. And you're doing it for each vendor.
What would you say, because you've been at it for 10 years now, building, like, you're one of the founders, what are the biggest challenges you found building a very technical company?
So the arriving too early, sometimes it's a problem. Or most of the time is a problem. Arriving too late, it's also a problem. So perfect timing is a complex thing in a technological world. But I think that the most complicated part is that we are solving a problem that is huge. Our data is on every website out there. And we need to make sure that we translate very technical problems into something that the business understands and that the business values. And for many years, security has been about breaking stuff. So the big stars in security are the ones that hacked something, not the ones that protected, that built a system that was more resilient than someone else. So I think that we are still waiting for the maturity of this space to be very focused on how security can drive value for the company instead of how security is showing that we are vulnerable. That's not the objective here. Our objective as a company that's delivering security product is making sure that our customers, they are still using third parties. They are still using the best video player, the best chat application, the best monitoring and tracking for their users. And they are doing it, but they are doing it in a safe and controlled way so that they are not exposing their business later on to problems with compliance and with data leakages to third parties that shouldn't be happening. And an interesting fact that I have discovered over the time of 10 years is that for every attack that I find 100 problems caused by misconfigurations or problems with updates and stuff like that all of a sudden are sending data where they shouldn't be sending. I'm going to give you a simple or an example. Maybe it's not that simple. Every site out there has a user tracking tool that is meant to see where you are clicking, where are the hotspots, where the customers are leaving. If that tool tries to record the session of every user, if that tool is not correctly configured, if you don't say to it on the checkout page, do not access credit card information, by default, it will start collecting credit card information because it was designed to collect the full user experience and even play you back the full user experience.
Yeah.
So you can't imagine how many times I have seen these tools not being configured properly, or they were configured properly one time in life, but then all of a sudden some update broke it. And then you are sending credit card information to someone else, which is not someone that should have your user's credit card information. So it's this type of continuous process that we want to control. Like the website is a very volatile experience. It changes for every user that you have in some cases. Like I'm in Portugal, you are in a different region. I'm using a MacBook. You can be using a Windows or a mobile device. The set of JavaScript that's going to be loaded for you is going to be different than me. And we are both doing the same thing and purchasing the same product. So it's a very complex problem to solve without tooling. And that's why we find that we find it so interesting, and we find that we are kind of enablers for the business to move faster, to move in a more way, while using the best of breed technologies that they need to use to build their websites.
And what's the tech stack to build that? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of like TypeScript, JavaScript, etc., but you probably have a lot in the background also.
A few years back, we made a decision to be like a full JavaScript company, like from back end to front end, which made sense because the first product that we launched was a JavaScript obfuscation, JavaScript protection tool. And so we kind of build our stack around JavaScript. Like that was the main objective. Of course, there are things that are not JavaScript, like servers and stuff like that, operating systems, then those are not built like that. But from the perspective of stuff that we build, everything is JavaScript. So Node, whatever is the best solution that exists in JavaScript that we can deploy. And of course, it's also protected by us, which is a kind of process.
I mean, I would have been really shocked. I would have been really shocked if you'd said, "Oh no, we're running, PHP on the back end or something like that." You guys are JavaScript through and through, which makes a lot of sense. So one of the things I was thinking as well, and I'm sure anybody listening to this, or anybody who's looking to use your tool, they're going to be thinking, well, what's the performance going to be like? Every company I've worked at that's had a major public-facing web presence, my last company, for instance, we were very, very focused on, page rendering. Can we get everything on the page in 2 seconds, 3 seconds? So can you talk a little bit about how you deal with those concerns around performance?
Yeah, that's a very good, very good question. It comes up like 99.9999% of the times. Like, yes, there is a performance impact with everything that we do. The question is it manageable? And that's the real answer that we have been able to provide to our customers. So first, like all of the things that we do in terms of monitoring, they are asynchronous and they are delayed. So the user is already experiencing with the website before we start to have an impact on the performance. And that's very important. Like
Okay.
the time to first experience is the most critical metric that most companies have. And then like you have a lot of time after that to do all of the monitoring process. The other thing is that when you're going back into JavaScript protection and changing how the code works, is finding and having the experience on protecting applications. And that is something that has evolved over time. So we have a lot of features that automatically detect where we should be more aggressive at protecting, where we shouldn't touch, automatic profiling of the applications. So it's a very big effort that we make. Today, I can't find a customer that has any concern with the performance that we are able to deliver. But it is a continuous improvement, because like the browsers are changing, JavaScript is changing. The stuff that we are doing today is totally different than the stuff that we were doing 10 years ago. Today you can play video at 4K or even more on a browser
it's extraordinary.
with a very fast streaming process. It's a totally different challenge. We can play games. All of these are examples of stuff that we have been engaged with, and kind of prove that it's possible to do it with minimum impact on performance.
That makes sense. And I wanted to ask you, Rui, like we usually have a small tradition in the podcast that the guests suggest a book that they really liked. So I don't know if you have one on the top of your mind that comes up.
To be honest, I didn't prepare for this part of the interview, so I don't have like a book that I would say it changed my life. But that there is like stuff on an entrepreneurial aspect. But from a personal aspect, I really love like all the Dune books and all the Dune universe. So, and also,
so how are the movies? How are the movies compared to the book?
That's the good part. They always try to be on the case of Dune. They always try to reinterpret everything. They never try to match the book. So it's fun to see how each new director approaches the movies. Company wide, we are huge Star Wars fans. We even have like rooms that are Star Wars focused. So it's on my free time. It's mainly sci-fi that I read, not more.
So do the Star Wars room make people come to the office more than work remotely?
No, but it makes it more fun when we are in a meeting, looking on the background, and you are seeing Tatooine or some other location that comes from the Star Wars set. Yeah.
But you know what I would say, right? If you one book, if you haven't read it, I can recommend, being the business that you're in. Have you read the book about Stuxnet? The development of the software to break the Iranian centrifuge process. It's called Countdown to Zero Day. That's an amazing book.
No, I
highly recommend it. Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
I'm going to put it on my list for sure. Well, but remember, like when we are in the industry, we kind of see the real stuff a lot of time. So and we are able to talk with the people that did it. So sometimes the books or the films on hackers and stuff like that, they kind of take away all the magic that that you already have from your day-to-day life.
I mean, well, that book actually is it's really, I mean, it's very, very good. I really enjoyed it. So actually then, just to continue that, your tool covers a lot of areas of threat. And as you said, it's a very evolving landscape, right? Are you able to give any insight on where you see the growing focus at the moment? Where are more threats tending to come from? Is it around third-party libraries? I mean, where are you seeing things from your point of view?
So we have evolved a lot in terms of identifying the supply chain of what you are building. What we are lacking in terms of overall industry, and that's where Jscrambler comes in, is at runtime. When the user is engaging with your application, what is being loaded? What is it doing there? Does this have an impact for my business? That's the black hole that we have in terms of information as a company. And that's the real security challenge today, because like as it becomes much tougher for you to attack the servers, the attackers are moving into the easiest path. And attackers, governments, like, and today today is not the guy in the basement that is preparing these type of things. It's a lot more organized, and a lot more money is being put into this whole security industry, from the good side and from the bad side. So if you look at it, like, there are certain elements that are in every web page, or that can be added to every web page. Google Tag Manager, Google Pixel, Facebook Pixel, a lot of third-party tools that enhance the experience or improve the business capability. When you engage with a website, it's on average 60 vendors, so 60 different companies that are there.
Wow.
That's a very big, complex problem. We have the problem with on average is that we have seen companies go to 200 third parties there, and some that are below at 15 or 20. But any of these numbers is very scary. Like when I'm typing my credit card, or when I'm booking an appointment at my doctor and I'm giving some private information about my health, there's like 15 people that could be looking at that data. That makes no sense to me. It has always been a problem of the industry, but we have built the web on top of like progressive improvements. So there's a lot of legacy stuff. There's a lot of evolution that's still happening, and security and user privacy is critical for the future of the continuous success of web and mobile apps, because I'm not distinguishing the two, because if you look at a mobile app today, most of the time it's still web technologies. They are just opening a browser and rendering a different version of the web page on that app, unless you are a Google Maps or a Uber or something like that. Like there, if you are a bank or another type of solution, most likely you're using web technology.
It's interesting though, because when I was researching you, there were all these blogs talking about things like, vetting sources, dependency checkers. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that even with all of that, you have issues, have instances of third-party libraries that have been put out on a CDN, being compromised on a CDN, right? Mm-hmm. So ironically, I got my credit card stolen booking a flight to Lisbon about 10 years ago on British Airways, and that was exactly how they did it.
The poster boy of a mage card attack, so stealing a credit card on a company webpage on the client side. That's the example that we use a lot of times when we're dealing with our customers. But that's the example of an attack. So you multiply it by 100, and you can see the possible effects that you have in terms of data privacy. I can give you a much more simpler example that's not even an attack, like Facebook Pixel. also a very interesting aspect, because you're talking about privacy in the healthcare space. Facebook Pixel on a doctor appointment page for some cancer screening or something related to cancer. What Facebook does with that information is, this person has interest in cancer and starts giving her ads that are related to miracle cures for cancer. That's the problem with privacy. Like, the Facebook Pixel doesn't have any major security problems, but the context that it is being used is a huge problem. Okay, so that's how you have to look at privacy, and that's where we come in. Like, when they decided to deploy Facebook Pixel in every web page, maybe it was like a marketing decision, like, hey, we need to have Facebook Pixel in every page of the website. No one asked, should it be when you are booking an appointment, where we have so much context on the type of appointment that you are doing? Should we be allowing Facebook to be aware of this? So the problems are much bigger and much more relevant than just an attack to steal credit card information. And by the way, Gareth, the new PCI DSS v4 standard is the first one to address, and it came into effect on April 1, is the first one to address web credit card skimming. So avoiding exactly what happened to you at British Airways, they heard the problem, they implemented this, the standard, and for example, Jscrambler is, like, for me, I'm biased, the best solution to address the web credit card skimming.
Your tool helps to obfuscate code, a term I would imagine most people are familiar with, but you implement polymorphic obfuscation, which I suspect has a narrower set of people that understand. Can you just briefly talk about what that is?
So that's code integrity, and I've been mainly talking about web page integrity. So polymorphic obfuscation is creating multiple versions of your own code that are fundamentally different, but they still operate and deliver the same result. So imagine that you want, I'm going to create a use case. You provide a game, an online game, and you don't want people to cheat at it, because if they are cheating, then it doesn't become interesting for people to play, because they are not competing at the same level. You could be doing, instead of deploying one version of your game, you could be deploying 1 million versions of your game. All the different people that are playing with a different set of JavaScript. So it's going to be much more complex for anyone to implement some sort of cheat code or some kind of attack, because they would have a million targets to solve. So it's a really cool technology. It has a lot of applications. So in terms of antibots, in terms of avoiding cheating. So, but it's also very complex to implement, because creating 1 million versions of your own code that do exactly the same thing means that you are not only able to understand the code, but you're able to understand how this code is going to run safely on these 1 million different versions that you are able to produce. But it's a really interesting technology. We have been building a lot of initiatives that we were the first to do it. Polymorphic on JavaScript, we were the first, and we have many others. Even monitoring third parties, it's something that we coined the term, not only, and we created the space itself.
The last question was, you have a few different plans available, and it sounds like you have something called the Code Integrity Plan for early stage companies. which again might be of interest to some in the audience. Can you maybe describe that a little bit, what that is?
So it's like you said, it's obfuscation plus code logs. So making sure that you're running on the right domain, making sure that you're running on the right browser, being able to defend against integrity attacks. So it's a set of protections that allow you to protect your code and deploy it safely on an unsafe environment, such as a browser. We also have web page integrity, and web page integrity is focused on extending this level of protection to all the third parties. So making sure that when your app is running, your code is safe, but your application is also safe from all the third parties that could be interacting with your user data and with your own company data on the client side. So if you look at it, it depends on where the company wants to start and what's the focus for the company in terms of problems that they need to solve. But we are able to provide the full spectrum of solutions for you to be able to deliver a safe client-side experience to your users.
Okay. And but for these, is that a reduced cost, or is there some kind of free element for real small companies, or?
For startups, we have Code Integrity for Startups, which is a special type of license that we provide for startups to help them in their initial process, which is much cheaper than the full enterprise solution.
Okay.
But there's a thing that I wanted to explain, that we're not providing tools; we're providing like the full service. Because like the expertise that we have, the experience that we have, we never see that the customer has take the tool, use it. We always provide the assistance for them to use it properly with real humans that are engaging and talking with the companies about what problem they want to solve, what is the concern that they need to address. And this is kind of very important because it creates a feedback loop into the products themselves. When we started, we just focused on let's protect the JavaScript code. And then we understood like the JavaScript code is a problem that we needed to solve. But then we have all these third parties that are there. If we are not addressing them, if we're not monitoring, if we're not able to enforce the behaviors, if we're not able to sandbox them, then you're not providing the full solution. That's how we have continuously expanded our product portfolio to make sure that we are really able to cover the security at the clients.
That makes sense. I mean, on this, we will conclude today's podcast. So, Rui, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Rui.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, we will be back in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.